Yo, hi everyone. Thanks for coming to the channel again. I look tired because I am tired. It's like 1:45 here in Singapore. And yeah, but I promised Maxwell to react to his um, video on SCP-545 MMRT, which I will today. And it's approximately can you guys see this? I'm hoping you can. Okay, it's 39:41 minutes long. And well, I don't know. It's a pretty long one. Try to condense. I'm not gonna be like an animation. You can't do an SCP justice in a short animation. So, but you can do what you do best. So, I'm gonna stick to my promises. I'm gonna stick to my guns. And let's jump straight into action. Yeah. So, like I said, this is a justifiably relatively stretched out SCP, and that's for a reason, and we'll see why. And if we do the sweet 5 minute thing, AA meeting is literally official inquiry request. We discussed a bit and 8 minutes, and 8 minutes is what do they say? I'm curious to see where it's gotten to 8 minutes. And 802 is gonna be stupid ass.
Detector and audio recorders. I've also got a concealed carry-on weapon.
Okay, so he's got a concealed carry-on weapon, which is like a shotgun, and HMD. So we're not even getting the meat of the thing. So basically, what we've got is, we've always had this notion of something that's haunted. So it's something that is like the stuff of nightmares. But we do know of some SCPs some well-known SCPs that are the stuff of nightmares for many people. But for this guy alone, he doesn't know why he keeps getting these nightmares until he goes to this particular site, which I'll get into. So, let me play a video as I react. It's a video by Maxwell, so it's also with blue screen and Maxwell's keyboard. So, please subscribe to this channel.
5545. Object class, safe.
Safe because it only kills him.
Provisional Site 344-1 has been built around SCP-5545-1. At least 18 individuals must be present within Site 344-1 at all times. Conceptual Site.
Let me tell you why that is. I read the SCP wiki, and basically, like, the O5s were like, okay, so we can build this like site to contain SCP-5545-1 is 345-1, and the files were justifying the 18 on site at any time, because that's the minimum to run at the site. Okay, I'll carry on.
44-2 contains SCP-5545-2 via association lock. All Foundation personnel.
So you're like, at this point, you're like, what's the association lock? It means that if we think about, okay, basically 5545 has got 4 parts. The 4th part is not mentioned because it's this side director called Jason Monroe, which should be introduced to later on. He comes in different forms and iterations, but the files feed them to it. Otherwise, 5545 is gonna cause the whole world to go into escape by ending the world using endless tunnels. So this ties into my Antarctica thing. I was like, okay, so the sea and the Antarctic is something that's not very well answered yet. We are in the midst of developing our understanding towards it, and so that brought me into thinking about this. And I didn't know that this existed and that Dr. Maxwell already did a video on it until he replied. And he replies. So that's why I really love. I understand about IP laws and all that stuff, but I really love responsive channels and creators that respond to comments, that respond to reactions. So basically, yeah, that's why I chose to respond to this, because not only is it underrated, undersubscribed, and under-supported, it's underknown, virtually unknown, because somehow YouTube has this algorithm that buries it under this snowstorm of, you know how everyone's bored, and it's the equivalent of sitting around a campfire eating marshmallows and telling horror stories. Yeah, so SCP is like that. So in my previous video, I was saying SCP is fictional and it's not real, and people are like, but you like to think that it's real. Well, you can think that it's real. One thing is to think that it's real. The other thing is to act as if it's real. The second one is the dangerous one, because why do we have then we start asking ourselves, like, why is there an increase in crime, in violent crime, in shootouts and shootings? Because people are naturalized and immunized and numb to all the blood and gore from a young age. Okay, enough of ranting. Rant over. So, basically, I touched on 5545-1, which is this haunted perpetual hallway that you either don't get to the end of, or you find yourself face to face and killed off by this haunted abnormality. 5545-2 is this thing. My beef with animated channels is that they don't really have the time to tell us why, when 5545-1 and 2 are combined, it results in 3, and that is enough to cause an escape. And I'm like, I read the whole I watched the whole video, multiple channels, and I'm like, why? The answer is why. The overriding question is still why. And Don Maxwell does a great job because he sticks so well to what was written in the wiki as much as he can, while making it interesting at the same time. So basically, one is this haunted perpetual hallway thing, right? 2 is a conceptual space. So if you know about 2, or if you mention it, it's already a breach and they can by right shoot you. And you are like, but why are they shooting people? Because they know that 2 exists. You're not supposed to even know about that. 3 is the endless hallways that I've been talking about, which can end the world, and 4 is this guy. So let's go on. Is the volume loud enough for you guys? Okay.
Entering Provisional Site 344-1 must be presented with the following phrase. SCP-5545-2 is contained in Site 344-2. SCP-5545-3 will remain inactive.
You'll soon find out why this is important, because when Moreau actually goes to the site, all the personnel tells him the same thing, which is the phrase that was just said. -2 is contained in So basically, yeah, it can come out, create endless hallways, and end the world. He has to be the scapegoat. And why? I read the wiki article and it explains why. I'm not gonna give it away though.
As long as SCP-5545-1 and SCP-5545-2 remain contained. Description.
And then I'm like, so combining 1 and 2 gives you 3 and that causes escape, but why? And I'm like, I don't know everything, but I know some SCPs. I'm not talking about the lizard or the shy guy that kills people. It's great that lesser known SCPs are being mentioned, but I see a lot of ads coming in, so a lot of sponsorships are happening and collaborations regarding that. So moving forward from what SCP Illustrated has to say, Steve and SCP Illustrated has made a great point. They can tie up and collab. So they are the OGs. They are original gangsters of the gang, because come on, they literally wrote the wiki when it wasn't a wiki yet. And now that everyone's locked at home and bored, now it's like second wave of popularity and everyone wants in on this slice of cakes, right? So multiple channels are popping up. Like he said, yeah, the channels aren't going anywhere, and what can we do about it? Nothing, unless we all turn into like animated channels ourselves, which is not likely to happen, thank God. So yeah, and for first time, Darcy Mirror is really funny because he's usually saying like you're wrong about SCP-173 or you're wrong about something. He's right. And then like Dosimer made a video like saying that was the right view. So that was quite funny actually. Okay, back to the video.
SCP-5545 refers to a series of interrelated anomalous objects and phenomena. SCP-5545-1 appears as a series of hallways manifesting within the subterranean complex of Provisional Site 344-1. SCP-5545-1 instances appear in various forms, but will always lack doors or discernible markings, possess light fixtures at regular intervals, and be indistinguishable architecturally from its surroundings. Although SCP-5545-1 instances extend indefinitely, these hallways cannot be entered from any other location. It is believed that SCP-5545-1 intersects an extra-dimensional space. SCP-5545-2 is an entity located within Site-344-2. No further information can be provided. SCP-5545-3 is a phenomenon resulting.
So this explains quite a bit about what I've already said. So I hope no further explanation is required. Okay, let's carry on. So that's what the hallways look like. Yeah.
SCP-5545-2's interactions with SCP-5545-1. During this process, SCP-5545-1's area of effect will exponentially increase with time, resulting in the manifestation of SCP-5545-1 occurring globally within a period of 4 to 6 hours. This will continue so long as SCP-5545-2 is present within SCP-5545-1. Subversively, SCP-5545-1 will logarithmically decrease in its area of effect, while SCP-5545-2 is not present.
You know what? I was like thinking, is it that bad? Then I was like looking at the wiki article, and I was like, it's literally word. It doesn't deviate from the facts. So like, you can trust me on this when you subscribe to Maxwell's channel. You're getting the real deal. It's as simple as that. Subscribe to my channel for my reactions to his videos. Okay, carry on.
Within it. Although this is not the limit to the relationship between SCP-5545-2 and SCP-5545-1, further information would constitute a containment breach. Discovery. Although the exact details behind SCP-5545's discovery are unclear, its central anomaly was believed to have been repeatedly discovered by colonial explorers since the late 1700s. Due to their interactions with SCP-5545-1,
okay, this one I can give away. The colonial explorers are like, the first question is like, people are already here before sharks. We were the first. And the second is, who on earth is that? And the third question is, the hallways with lights. I've already shown you the hallways and lights, and they are obviously ahead of the 17th century. So, who built them? And those who venture into it are never seen again, presumably killed or have lost their way in the never-ending hallways. That's actually merciful compared to being killed by whatever they find, if they find anything. Yeah. Let's carry on.
and -2, and in some cases the indirect activation of SCP-5545-3, a vast majority of the colonial explorers who learnt of the anomaly died, either from the anomaly itself or suicidal tendencies provoked by it. The total number of casualties during...
Oh, and you're like, wait, is this a cognitive hazard? Is this memetic? Is this what? So basically it doesn't cause people who read it to like die, but they can't live with the knowledge of, even if they make it out, they can't live with the knowledge of what they find inside. Okay, that's why they die by suicide. They much rather die by their own hands. Yeah, it's that bad. And yes, I checked it with the wiki again. Like I said, but I come across a SCP that I don't know every single detail about. I like to check it with the wiki to make sure that it's accurate. And yes, it is.
Time period are believed to number around 70. On September 8th, 2003, Foundation researchers discovered SCP-5545 during an expedition into Antarctica. The anomaly was initially believed to be confined to SCP-5545-1, and a provisional site was quickly established. However, after discovering the site in which SCP-5545-2 was located, 16 members of the research team died. After investigation, the current containment procedures were set in place. Notice: the remainder of this file has been deemed extremely sensitive information. If your O5 clearance credentials are found to have been falsified, you will face termination charges.
Okay, basically, oh shucks, it's not saying that, I'm a girl, so as usual, camera center me, right? Okay, so basically, where the O5 sending one man, you just saw like at least, that was the MTF team. You're like, what's MTF? Find for yourself. It's Mobile Task Force, and they can be the usually guards, highly trained guards, the best of the best. They can also be scientists with attentions with special knowledge of whatever they gotta face. Yeah.
On December 3rd, 2003, and November 15th, 2019, 29 Mobile Task Force units have been sent into SCP-5545-1 instances, and 73 D-Class personnel. None have been accounted for since. Another expedition.
When I come across like really nitty-gritty like details like this, I like to check the accuracy and verify it. And yes, it is true. And it mentions, the article itself mentions 30 MTF forces and 73 D classes. So we are talking about maybe about 100 plus, 200 plus people since the site was found in 2009. So you can imagine before then. Some must have gone to Antarctica, yes. Some must have found it, yes, and find it very odd, right? Guess what they did? I'm sure some of them went in and tried to do some exploring of their own. They were, one, either not find the end, or two, found the end and found something that's really bad. Let's carry on with Dr. Maxwell's video, shall we?
Was scheduled for December 21st, 2019, but was prevented from occurring. On November 18th, 2019, Director Jason Monroe submitted a formal inquiry to investigate the documentation surrounding SCP-5540.
This is literally 4 minutes 52 seconds. And yes, this is the guy that I was talking about. And if we clicked off videos, or YouTube does its calculations based on who clicks off videos at the 5-minute mark, not much would have been covered by this point, right? Okay.
5. The extensive loss of human life and the general misconduct of staff in this site. Director Monroe was permitted to conduct his investigation. A full list of relevant documentation can be found below.
Who's this O5 thing? O5 is overseers and they comprise of 13 people. One was kept in between life and death because they struck a deal with death, meaning that the council does not die of old age as long as they stay on the council and they serve the SCP Foundation. So, despite all the losses of life, why is this horrendous SCP safe? Well, we're getting to it. Guess what? It's 5:05. And we haven't gotten to it yet.
Addendum 1. Official Inquiry Request and Response. Official Inquiry Request, solicited by Director Jason Monroe, Head of Site 58. Issued November 18, 2019. Addressed to the Acting 05 Council and Ethics Committee. I am submitting an official inquiry request to investigate and potentially revise the current containment procedures of SCP-5545. Its current acting head researcher, Dr. Gabriel Reed, has been in charge of the project for almost 2 decades, yet has updated the page only twice, the first time on September 8, 2003, and the second time on December 3, 2003. The file is severely lacking in information and clearly requires some capacity of resources that does not make it a safe class anomaly according to any of our standards, even the ones dating to 2003. Additionally, we have roughly no knowledge of SCP-5545-2. While it's clear that the anomaly possesses a danger to human life, it appears to have been completely dormant until it was discovered. It is likely more efficient for containment specialists to simply isolate the anomaly than attempt to actively contain it. If not, we should at least receive some form of update to the file or information about the anomaly as a whole. If it were any other anomaly, I'd probably ignore the file and continue my duties as director. However, the file does not state that there's any memetic influence occurring, and the complete silence from Provisional Site 344-1 has left me to believe that something drastic has occurred without our knowledge. Considering the proximity of Site 58 to the anomaly, this would fall under my jurisdiction, as detailed under the Site Director Code of Ethics rules.
So, this Jason Morrow guy is pretty high up, very high up actually. He's a site director of Site 58 and pretty close to where this SCP, can we call it skip? Really? Because it's so much easier. SCP-5545. Okay, I'll use the word skip in future videos. And he's actually volunteering to go. He's actually ethical enough to realize that something is wrong, and he's volunteering to go, and no one's stopping him. So already something's not quite right here.
During my previous employment in Mobile Task Force Edit 10 and my involvement in the containment of numerous Keter-class anomalies, I would like to request to personally navigate to and investigate the circumstances surrounding SCP-5545. I have already assured that my work for the next 6 months can be done by other personnel and that I will not be needed during this time. You can find appropriate paperwork attached to this document. 05 Council Proposal Summary. Status approved. Addendum 2. Initial Exploration.
It's really not every day that the entire 05 Council approves proposal The only time is when they wiped out all of humanity. So that's SCP-5000. If you watch Dr. Maxwell's previous video. So this was another one. That usually does not happen. And they are obviously in cahoots about it, about something. And I would like to know more. So let's know more, shall we?
The following are private documents and notes recovered from Director Jason Monroe's notebook during his investigation into SCP-5545. Date: November 20th, 2019. I've arrived at the provisional site today. The trip wasn't as terrible as I expected it to be. Some hot chocolate in a helicopter over an Arctic wasteland, while uncomfortable, was still the most soothing feeling I've had all month. Half a year of being a site director can seriously get to your nerves. Don't think I'll be offered any luxuries for a while, so it was nice while it lasted. I've come prepared with a few O5 approved provisions, such as a hostile meme detector and audio recorders. I've also got a concealed carry-on weapon, which I don't plan on ever using. Might be...
It was interesting to know that in retrospect, the vice know exactly what he's bringing, so they know what to recover later on. But on with the show.
Well, anyways, the O5 refused to let me bring scramble gear, but it's understandable. The tech is still relatively new and experimental. Feels a lot like my days in Edit 10. When I arrived at the provisional site, I was greeted by a middle-aged researcher. Flashed in my credentials and he quickly moved aside, but not before telling me...
Remember, this is just one guy who volunteered. He knows that he's going to a high-risk area where a lot of deaths have occurred. He is important in the ladder hierarchy because he's a site director. Okay. So, what did the guy tell you?
SCP-5545-2 is contained in Site 344-2 in an almost depressive tone. Ran the audio through the hostile meme detector, I'll just abbreviate it as HMD, and it turned up negative. Possibly getting paranoid, but it's better safe than sorry. My room is on the first subterranean floor of the complex, third door on the left side of the first hallway.
Like I told you guys, literally every single personnel that's stationed there or is posted there knows about it and has only one response to that. That's also why the file has not been updated since 2003. Not officially anyway. Not available him, this Jason Morrow guy, for obvious reasons, which we'll get into later.
It's small, but cozy. A single bed and bath, 2 heaters. It's the Arctic after all. A coffee machine and an alarm clock. A few other minor bits of furniture here and there, but the room doesn't contain a lot. The light fixture above my head is illuminated.
I love I selectively choose the channels that I respond to. I love how Dr. Maxwell creates this imagery for us, because in the wiki it was rather clinical, I would say. The room's furnishings were definitely not mentioned, so it was a luxury, really, to actually hear like normalcy. Dr. Maxwell is a human. Yes.
The concrete walls of the room. Unfortunately for me, I arrived at night, meaning Dr. Reed was off duty and probably asleep. Tomorrow will have to do. Until then, I've decided to write down my observations and findings into a notebook. I'll likely do this every night, since typing this stuff on a phone is a pain in the ass. Besides, writing helps me think better. Apologies to whoever needs to transcribe this. Jason Monroe. Date: November 21st, 2019.
I've done transcribing before, and it was very technical, very tedious, and not how I usually speak. But then my rule is not to write out how I usually speak, is to write out what was actually spoken. So that was in my role, and I did my role, and I submitted my work. That's it. And I'm sorry.
To walk around a bit in the morning before everyone else woke up. The ventilation shafts in my room make this quiet whistling noise when night comes in. It's really annoying, so I'm gonna try to fall asleep before they start. While on my walk, I noticed...
You realize it's details like this that actually give humanity to Jason Monroe, and that Maxwell really thought this through very, very hard while he was covering it, or before he covered it. Because, like, it's small details like that that get left out in writing, but definitely noticeable when they are read. So I thank Dr. Maxwell again. Okay, on we go.
Something interesting. At the end of each hallway, there's a green sign saying that it's safe to cross. It's these small details that make containment possible in the Foundation, especially with odd and adaptive anomalies like 5545. Since -1 appears indefinite, you use that to your advantage and put the signs at the end of the halls so the anomaly can't mimic it. Yet despite all the cleverness of people, somehow this site ended up compromised. One of the unfortunate risks for working for this place. I also noticed that there's cameras in practically every hallway here, but none in my room nor the halls outside the dorms. I plan on using that to my advantage, but for now, I'll have to keep tabs on it. My meeting with Dr. Gabriel Reed was relatively lackluster. I entered his office at 9 a.m. and left at about 9:30. He was a good bit shorter than me, balding and lacking any significant facial hair. The bags under his eyes told me he was fairly sleep-deprived or incredibly bored. From the way he spoke, I assume both. He simply nodded at me as...
Yeah, same as me. I bags check, tired check. I said days probably not the same as me. I slept last night, that I can recall. But yeah, I'm still fatigued.
Came in and sat down, and we sat in silence for what felt like an hour, but was in reality closer to a minute. I started asking him questions, and he answered briefly and concisely. When I asked about 5545, he just pointed at a copy of the file. I questioned him about -2 and got nothing except that it would constitute a containment breach if I was informed. In other words, the conversation was infuriating and I found out nothing. The meeting ended and I returned to my dorms. Obviously, I ran the conversation through the HMD. People don't just sit there and answer questions vaguely yet robotically. Hell, it's one of the telltale signs of some kind of mimetic suppressant. But
Exactly. That was what, I was thinking, why do people who make it out alive, obviously they're out of danger, but they kill themselves? Is it mimetic contamination? Some kind of cognitive hazard? I gotta know more. So, no, it's not.
everything, the conversation returned no malicious mimetic infection. I tried running it without any filter on detection, but only got regular non-anomalous memes, standard with most conversations. In other words, whatever's made the site like this is either an incredibly powerful yet subtle mimetic hazard, or not a meme at all. It's around midday now, so I'll write another note tonight. Jason Monroe. Remember when I said that there were cameras in every hall? It's a little known fact, mainly because nobody's cleared to know it, but every site contains a few locked in almost seamless panels that gives you complete access to the security system. Even the most antiquated systems are incredibly secure. If you don't have the proper credentials, you're bound to get in serious trouble. Thankfully, I do have them, and the terminal accepted me with no issues. I think the most noticeable thing was Conceptual Site 344-2's sole camera, which was a completely black screen save for the phrase SCP-5545-2 is contained in Site 344.
Even like the ridiculousness from the guard at the guardhouse to the site director to always have them. All rooms have them, but this site 344-2 only has one camera. That in itself is weird. It's strange, and even says the same thing. So he's been warned like how many times already by this one? 3?
2. It produced a slight static noise whenever its audio was on, so I quickly muted it. I get that it's contained by association lock, but there's only one other person who can access this feed anyways, and it's Dr. Reed. There's literally no use for it. The second thing I noticed is something I've only seen once or twice in my time employed by the Foundation. Every employee sitting at a cubicle doing nothing but staring at their screens. All the screens displayed static, besides 2 which were simply powered off. Why does this place...
Let me put this into context again. We've got 18 people, 16 of which are staring at static screens, and 2 that are staring at blank, powered off screens. Does that not yell abnormal to you?
18 people at the minimum if they do literally nothing all day. Despite these oddities, my main reason for accessing the camera system is to ascertain Dr. Reed's schedule for holes. Although everyone else's computers might be tuned to static, he seems to be actively using his, though I can't tell what for. During my probing, I found a small but good enough gap where he went...
Well, Reed is not bright, I think. So, who knows? I do know that Bright is no longer allowed to buy porn, even if it's anomalous porn. I found that very, very funny. Go check out SCP animated or SCP illustrated. This is what happens when I get too tired. Yes, SCP illustrated, because they are doing this like running SCP thing where the bride is like one of the most iconic doctors there, right? So yeah, but he actually drove the IT guy nuts. That one you should watch.
Make himself a drink and use the bathroom for 15 minutes. He did it twice since I started watching, each for around the same time. If I can enter his office just after he leaves, I might be able to grab some information. In other news, I've encountered my first -1 instance today. Almost missed it too, but my memory faintly reminded me that something was different, and it was only the endless abyss to my left that made me realize I was standing in front of it. It blended in almost perfectly, and if I wasn't paying attention, I might have accidentally...
It's for purpose. They make it blend in perfectly because they want him to venture it accidentally. But more on that later.
Down it. HMD is still turning up negative results for every bit of speech I can record, so it seems like a dead end. I'll write more tomorrow when I get some actual information. Jason Monroe. Addendum 3. Investigation. The following are private documents and notes recovered from Director Jason Monroe's notebook during his investigation into SCP-5545, during and after his espionage on November 22, 2019.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire...
That's an I'm gonna skip it.
I'm not going to lie. This makes absolutely no sense. I've watched through the camera system for his break and found that it was 15 minutes each time, like I suspected. At 11:45, he left for the bathroom, and I snuck into his office undetected.
You know who he reminds me of? Douglas. Because, like, seriously, like, his routine doesn't change. I don't know if his attire changes, but it's 15 minutes each time on the dot. And it's not toilet break, it's not coffee break. Guess what he's actually doing?
After just a few clicks, I managed to find SCP-5545 on his intranet database and attempted to open up the file, only to discover that everything past the discovery logs were locked with O5 clearance. I wasn't aware there was anything past it, but I'm honestly not surprised. I decided to start looking through his files to see if I could find anything else that's useful.
You see, right? The O5 sent him, so he, by right, he can go, oh, I've got O5's approval on this. But by left, he's locked off everything that's useful, because everything that's useful to him is locked by an O5 lock. And I don't think it's an accident that the O5 forgot to give him the password for a lock. Okay, let's carry on.
Interestingly enough, he's got relatively little on it, but enough information for me to gain some insight. Two things I found particularly interesting. First, this image. It's a bit blurry, since I had to take the picture on my phone and then print it through the oldest system on the damn planet, but it clearly depicts a mobile task force entering a hall, presumably 5545-1. I don't recall the file ever saying something about a task force, but I'm willing to bet it is. Once again, locked behind a passcode. Site director clearance can get you far, but not all the way. The second thing was an Excel sheet, obviously rudimentary, containing a list of every employee who's ever worked at the site. Around half of them are dead, either from suicide or anomaly influence, which I learned from the file. But one detail sticks out. A single redacted entry. The name, clearance, basic info, and even the cause of death have been entirely erased from the file. I don't know who our mystery man is, but I assume he might be the connecting link. I wanted to do a bit more digging, but I only had a few minutes left, so I tidied up and skedaddled. Had around 30 seconds to spare before Reed came back and continued quote-unquote working. Tomorrow I plan on figuring out how...
You know, I was like thinking, oh, is like Donald Maxwell using creative, like his creative flair again? Or is his creativity kicking in again? I checked the wiki and apparently it's like accurate down to the word. I'm like, mind equals blown. Like, I was like, in this day and age, people are like, we want to earn more monies. That's a deliberate grammatical error. So we want to catch more eyeballs and attentions. So therefore, children are fair game, and shorter videos are fair game, and anything that's inaccurate is also fair game. Donald Maxwell is the epitome of like accurate, and the Vogan voice 049, the Plague Doctor, if you don't know your SCPs very well yet, it's okay. He voiced it in Condemned Breach. It's so infuriating because I literally counted. Well, I found a way to hide from the 939s, which is with many voices, the ones with air sensing spikes on his back, which airs his eyes, so he knows the direction that movement is occurring in. But I got bitten on the head by a fifth one, and I was like, hey, that's not fair, I thought only 4 escaped. Apparently I was wrong, so 5. I had to wait for the 5th one. Kill me now.
Either hack or get past the security block. It's risky, but I was given unanimous O5 approval to investigate this anomaly, and by God I will. Why is there an O5 clearance notice anyways? Why did the O5 unanimously approve my expedition? It's been bothering me for a day or so now, but I'm starting to get suspicious.
He's starting to ask questions now that are actually important. So, if you're suspicious, my man, do not go any further. Get the I'm gonna get demonetized. Not that I'm gonna get any money out of this anyway. This is just a reaction. So, my man, get the heck out of that place, because worse things are gonna happen. But he doesn't, and we get the rest of the story. So let's wait.
This makes no sense on every level. There's something fundamentally wrong here, and I plan on finding out what. Jason Monroe. It should be noted that the following page was torn.
I think he is a curious cat, because he was part of an NTF squad before this, so he's known to be no nonsense. That's how he rose through ranks to be side director. He was in Era 10, one of the few top-notch MTF squads. I don't think everyone's gonna agree with me on this, but then you don't get to be a side director just because you're an NTF guy. You get what I mean? Yeah. So you gotta be a good one at that. And then he did mention that he faced out multiple killer anomalies before. So the fact that this made him very uneasy and that he's asking the right questions puts him on the right track to getting the heck out there. But he doesn't. Probably because he wants to get the bottom of this. And I'm like, my man, you are no longer an NTF guard. You are no longer in an NTF squad. Can you please stop being an investigative freak and get out there? They're trying to kill you.
Discarded after its creation. I had a dream. The same one since I joined Edit 10, but slightly different. I'm standing in a lavish home I don't recognize.
Yeah. I just mentioned Edit 10 a few moments ago, so that's the MTF squad I was referring to. Yeah.
The walls are crimson, outlined with hellishly detailed golden adornments running up and down. There's a table in the center, made of glass, surrounded by dozens of chairs of silver. It's cold in the room, and I'm shivering, yet I'm wrapped in a large thick coat, and I'm not cold. At the end of the room, in the center, there's a fireplace. A few minutes pass, and I'm walking through the room. There are statues along its sides, and they all appear either feminine or masculine, never in between. Their faces are the same. The man is angry, and the woman is afraid, and they are related.
I am not trained in the arts, so I guess this is a thing called like statues that are bisexual, or they don't show gender at all. But in this case, it's either male or female, never in between and never without gender. So we are going with like they used to be living people. Yeah. And they used to be a real person.
Don't know how I know this, but the thought is perfectly natural. I get to the end of the room and stand in front of the fire. It's quite...
How often do you see a statue that look angry, frowns, or show any emotion at all? Like he mentioned, the men look angry, the women look afraid, and he thinks it's perfectly natural. Come on, man. You guys, as my audience, are listening to this, and like those of you who've been to museums before, have you seen a statue for aesthetic purposes look angry, afraid? How is that aesthetic? In any sense? So why would they be bought? Is my next question. They weren't. So who created them? Okay.
and warm. The only sound is the cackling of the fire and the chandelier hanging above the table, softly swinging back and forth, back and forth. I hated chandeliers as a kid, since I always felt they would just fall. I'm nervous. I look back to above the table, but find the chandelier isn't swinging at all, but the noise is continuing. My gaze shifts from above the table to the fireplace at eye level. It's become infinitely tall, extending far beyond where I can see into the abyss above. But the swinging is not from the eternal depths, but rather from in front of me, from within the fireplace. The shape emerges and I don't recognize it until it has reached out and it's bored into my mind. There's the corpse of a woman, a small girl. She's hanging by a horrendously long thread, intertwining with laces of the scarlet walls and extending upwards to a void of no ceiling. She grips the sides of the fireplace and pulls herself out. She stares at me, watching. She's angry, and I don't know why, as though I am the source of all her rage and fear.
You know, earlier it was mentioned that male statues were angry, female statues were afraid. This Ande girl was 5545-1 is angry. So that does not make her a boy. But she's angry when she sees Jason Monroe. Another thing to get the heck out there.
She desperately wants to free herself from the torment, but can't leave the fireplace. I enter and she rips my skin off, exposing my muscle to the open flames. We burn forever together, suffering with no end. Today I dreamt that I blinked upon entering, and I'm in a hallway. That's what's new about the dream. I don't know what it means. Fuck it. Follow.
So I was just going like, Okay, that's pretty cryptic. And anyone can have nightmares. When you're in a task force, you see nightmare things every day. Almost every day. He's site director and he's had no abnormal dreams until he steps onto this site. He goes to sleep and he's had the same nightmare that he's had as a field agent. Something's not right here.
This, Director Jason Monroe threw the paper away and returned to his bed. Date, November 23rd, 2019. Had a weird dream last night. Decided to run my voice through the HMD just to be sure, and it came out negative. Oh well. My main priority at the moment is to find out how the O5 are involved in this anomaly, but there's also the issue of figuring out what the hell is happening at this site. The plan of action is to infiltrate the O5 access.
Do you realize that Monroe is starting to sound more and more frustrated and efforts and H is starting to creep into his speech? I checked. Yes, they were it. And along the lines of being true to the original creator, I give them myself props for making Jason Monroe sound very human indeed.
Section of the SCP-5545 file and find out what I need to know, and hopefully explain everything. I'm also still curious about the redacted entry in the MTF picture. I read through the file again and I noticed that Site 344-2 is said to be conceptual, meaning that it's an idea space of some kind. I'm not sure what that entails or how the hell I could access it, but that means that -2 is also contained in idea space. The containment procedures also say that it's kept under key via association lock, which
if we follow some videos, -2 is introduced pretty early and conceptual. So some people are like, wait, I got a question. What's conceptual? What's this log thing that we're talking about? The fact that he has already gone through and read through the article and has arranged it such that it's easier to understand is commendable.
assume means that it's associated with a concept. The concept here being quote-unquote contained, and it becomes the concept. In reality, I have no idea. I've never heard of it nor seen it used in another article. It could mean anything for all I'm aware. SCP-5545-2 seems to also cause suicide in some individuals and directly kills others. I don't know what the criteria for each are. Judging by the amount of black boxes on the redacted report, it seems our mystery friend died differently from everyone else. Could be a red herring. The Foundation does that sometimes. But I doubt it for this anomaly. I plan on infiltrating the office in 2 hours. Hopefully the new information will help me crack the case open. Jason Monroe. Date, November 24th, 2019. Shit. I haven't written for almost a day, but I think it's safe to now. Just need to collect my thoughts. I waited for another opportunity to sneak into Reed's office. At about 11:45, he got up and walked out, giving me my chance to enter. I made sure to memorize the layout of everything on his monitor so I could set it back to how it was before without arousing suspicion. The goal was to find some way to access the entire file using only what was available on the computer. considering Dr. Reed likely had access to it and the device wasn't capable of connecting to the Foundation intranet, it must mean that the software already contained the clearance, and I just needed to activate it. Sure enough, after a few minutes of searching, I found them. The credentials were stored in a hidden file in some non-conspicuous folder. I recognized it as the late 05-9 signature code, mainly from its identifying features. It's complicated, but I have some experience. The key was clearly outdated and non-functional everywhere else, but since this was an isolated system, it worked like a charm. I punched in the numbers and the file let me in. I'm not entirely sure what to make of it. The first thing I saw was the extended discovery log. It said that almost 30 MTF members were sent in there, along with over 70 D-Class. Pardon my language, but what the fuck? Who kept sending these people into -1 instances? Was it Reed? And if it weren't disturbing enough on its own right, I found a complete recollection of all my previously written notes, even the discarded ones, logged on the console that does not have access to the Foundation intranet. I doubt it was Reed for a few reasons, mainly that the notes were carried on me at all times and there's a non-keyed lock on my door. So I'm presuming that the O5 Council is somehow involved. I have no idea how, but someone is watching me. Then Reed walked in. The following is a transcript of the conversation between Director Jason Monroe and Dr. Gabe.
This is very interesting. Who's watching who? And who is investigating who? Or what?
Reed, and was not included in the note. Begin log.
Director Monroe? Shit! Are you aware that entering my office without my permission is a breach of protocol?
Are you aware that sending over 70 fucking D-Class into your pet anomaly is also a breach in protocol? Momentary silence.
You've read the SCP-5545 file with O5 credentials? I am certain you saw the warning.
I don't fucking care anymore. The site is under the influence of some kind of abnormality, and you're doing nothing to stop it. You're succumbing to it.
I do not believe that is the case, Director. You've entered the site uninvited and have violated its rules several times, and now have gone against O5 protocol. You may face termination charges.
Director Monroe produces concealed carry-on from his coat. Dr. Reed does not react. I'm here under order from O5 to ensure that this anomaly is contained properly. You've been inadequate.
On the contrary, your orders were given to assist in containment, and everything has gone perfectly thus far.
Director Monroe appears stunned.
What? Return to your room, Director. You have everything you need.
Director Monroe pauses, then slowly lowers his weapon. Dr. Reed moves from the doorway and allows the director to leave. End log. Following this...
Let me just sum that up. Monroe is the one with a gun. He questioned Reed, but he didn't. They are equal in standing. Monroe has made quite a few mistakes, including remembering 059's password, which still worked, and gave him access to some files, which he does not understand the full impact of. So, and also he found out that he's been spied on. By spied on, someone or something has been giving all his notes and his journal entries to Reed. So that's not connected intranet. So Monroe doesn't know that he's being spied on, obviously, and no one's raised a red flag in his direction yet. I think that's the whole point. Let's carry on. I'm losing my voice. quite obviously.
Dr. Monroe returns to his room, not reconcealing his firearm. We had a brief exchange. I lost my cool and Reed said something that stuck with me. You have everything you need. What does that mean? Does he know about my thoughts? How did he get access to my notes? Is he watching me somehow? How are the O5 involved? Why did they send me specifically? Is 5545 the source of all this? What the fuck is going on? No one sent guards to detain or kill me yet. I think thus far I'm in the clear. But I need to think. Jason Monroe.
So, how long have you and your sugar daddy been together? We're coming to 2 years now. How do you meet him?
I feel like I'm going insane. Date. Do I even know?
Now, this is, we are at 2550 mark. There's still about 14 minutes left of this video. And we've already hit 3 ads so far that I click off. I have a huge problem if kids know about SCP world, which is not pretty, never was intended to be, and knows about sugar book, or to be asking questions like, what's a sugar daddy? What's a sugar what do they do? If I want extra money for drugs, if I need them to pay my tuition bills for uni, what do I do? If they knew that this thing exists,
It's a conspiracy. I've been thinking through my options here and all the clues I've gathered, and I've come to a few conclusions. For some reason,
they had, remember, we have 18 people plus a guard who's slightly armed. There's slightly an armory on site, and we have a site director. They know where he's sleeping or where his room is. Even if he lost his room, the guard can kick it down. So, or they can call for backup. So, it's the fact that he hasn't been shot to death yet, even after knowing so much, is frankly very alarming. I think I'll leave you to make of that what you will.
haven't been detained or terminated yet, nor recalled from my duty. Along with Reed's statements and the unanimous O5 vote, I'm starting to come to the conclusion that perhaps I'm here for a reason besides investigating the anomaly. That I've been playing a role for some higher purpose. That I've been a puppet on a string this entire time. The notes are leading me to believe that somehow they had access to it beforehand, from 17 fucking years ago. How is that possible? How long have I been here? Repeated amnestic use on this scale would surely show some side effects in me. It couldn't have been a memory wipe. I can't seem to figure it out. Why am I needed here? I volunteered to come. It wasn't an O5 order. Did they expect me to? How? Memetics? It doesn't add up. I'm missing the final piece of this goddamn puzzle, and I'm sick of playing this stupid charade of cat and mouse. I need to end this. I've come up with a hypothesis, but there's no way of proving it. SCP-5545-2 is contained in Site-344-2. That's what I've been told around 3 or 4 times now. Site-344-2 is a conceptual space, but nonetheless exists. If there's a way to get to Conceptual Site 344-2, there's a way to find SCP-5545-2 and find out what the hell it is. It may constitute a containment breach, but I'm willing to...
Now, he's gonna meet 5545-1 and the little girl for real. So you can't tell me you can cover all that in less than 10 minutes, honestly. No matter how good your animation skills are, it's kind of impossible because this requires background and knowledge. And there are still people who want either to know about SCPs and their existence, or two, think that SCPs are real. So we already have a problem on our hands. Three, some Russian dude decided that, you know, there's always this joke that like in any part of the world, like we do something and in Russia or in Soviet Russia, something does something to you instead. So yeah, Russians, please don't knock on my door. I'm not gonna say anything. and yeah, I've noticed a trend. When people are bored, they start creating channels. And they're creating channels based on what they're passionate about. And I've looked at my analytics. So people are looking at SCPs. And it's a problem for me, as far as I'm concerned, because people with good content like this are being passed over for child-friendly alternatives, but short alternatives. But it's not supposed to be child-friendly. It's only answerable in 4-6 hours. We don't even know yet because we haven't allowed it to. But that doesn't sound very child-friendly to me. Actually, a lot of SCPs don't sound very child-friendly to me, the way they function. So, number one, why are children aware of this when their parents aren't? And number two, why are people trying to make more children see this? I'm sure you know about Bobo the Clown, who teaches arson, murder, and abduction and cannibalism. So yeah, that's not very nice. But yeah, children are exposed to that kind of thing. Think about that for a sec. If you don't think there's something wrong with that, you're part of the problem. Okay, we carry on.
I need to know. The part of my hypothesis I can't prove is that SCP-5545-1 is the entrance to Conceptual Site 344-2. If I end up going into SCP-5545-1 and it'll kill me and I'm not supposed to be there, Dr. Reed will be forced to prevent me from going. If it won't kill me, then I won't be dead. Great. If I'm supposed to be there, then I at least hope I'll get some fucking answers, whether it's fatal or not. If I come out alive and there isn't some sort of grand plan and I'm just losing my goddamn mind, then I'll be terminated anyways for breaking 05 order. There's nothing left for me to lose. There's a -1 instance directly across the hall from my dorm. I'll see you bastards on the other side. Addendum 4. Conclusion.
Remember, like at the start of my video, how I mentioned like how his room is conveniently situated right across -1 instance? Yep, now you know why.
The following is a video log of Director Jason Monroe's expedition into SCP-5545-1 and Conceptual Site 344-2, recorded by a camera he stole from Site 344-1. Begin log. The sound of heavy breathing can be heard as Director Monroe walks through the SCP-5545-1 instance. The walls consist of white painted concrete worn by age and deterioration. There is no discernible end to the hallway, with the far end being entirely dark. Light fixtures overhead occasionally flicker, but do not turn off. The whirring of ventilation pipes is faintly audible. Monroe mutters momentarily about getting the camera to operate. Although the footage is slightly grainy, it is functional and records in decent quality. He sweeps the camera in both directions, revealing that no entrance or exit is visible from within this point in the anomaly. As Monroe continues to walk down the hall, the lights continue to flicker more sporadically, and the ventilation's whirring continues to increase in pitch. 2 minutes pass and the flickering begins to quicken alarmingly. Monroe appears to panic and begins to hyperventilate. He stops walking and the camera turns towards his face briefly. All lights turn off. 3 seconds pass in absolute darkness, followed by the SCP-5545-1 instance quickly brightening. The hallway's appearance has changed entirely. Now it appears ornamental, with yellow painted walls, elaborate rugs lining the floor, and wooden decorations. Lamps are present in regular intervals on the ceiling. Similar to before, the instance appears to extend indefinitely. Director Monroe is heard choking back a sob and frantically scans the area. He appears to stutter and draw a sharp breath. The camera shakes slightly as he readjusts the device to face forward. Director Monroe. I've seen this before. Director Monroe continues through the SCP-5545-.
It looks to me like an old hotel, old mansion, or a saloon of sorts. And he's seen it and he cannot remember where because he's frightened. I think he's seen it either here in this site or in his dreams. We're not told that in the wiki.
Instance at a normal pace, albeit with irregular breathing patterns and steps. The camera moves significantly more than it did prior. As Monroe continues, no noticeable changes are apparent in the hallway's structure or behavior. 6 minutes go by without incident. Monroe halts suddenly, readjusting the camera's focus and zoom. At the far end of the hall, there is a faint flickering light visible, which Monroe briefly comments on quietly. He continues to walk, readjusting the camera occasionally to ensure the feed is clear. He persistently does so until approximately 5 meters from the exit. The camera stops moving, focusing on the light. The SCP-5545-1 instance leads into a long room. Its details are unclear due to the camera's quality. At the far end, the shape of the light changes wildly and is occasionally obscured by a moving figure. The camera feed begins to sharpen slowly. As the footage clears, the light is revealed to emanate from a fireplace. Director Monroe takes a deep breath audibly and enters Conceptual Site 344-2.
Nah, not Jason Monroe, but I am pretty familiar with the fact that with what happens next after the fireplace is encountered and nothing good. It's gonna count this. There's no exit. He's already mentioned that he has a camcorder, handheld camcorder, and there's no exit for him. He can only walk ahead. And very, very soon, he'll come with what he's been afraid of.
The room is large and poorly lit, the only sources of light being the fireplace and candelabras lining the walls. The ceiling is not in frame, and the walls seem to extend upwards indefinitely. Statues with indeterminate facial expressions are spaced regularly nearby, both male and female in appearance. Monroe makes various noises, suggesting immense emotional distress and anxiety. Upon reaching the fireplace, Monroe moves the camera upwards and
Why does Monroe sound like D-Class at this point? Distress? He's very crying like a baby.
centers it on the fire. A single white thread hangs in front of it, unmoving. Director Monroe. Oh God. Oh God, no. Monroe does not move for approximately 1 minute.
So, I was looking at the invocation and the speeches and the invocation of this god. And the wiki article actually does state it like word for word. So, yes, Dr. Maxwell does it true to form. Like, seriously, let's bow down to this man and subscribe to this channel, because if you want the real stuff but can't be half-arsed to like go through the SCP wiki, here it is in video form. We do watch YouTube because we are bored anyway. So yeah.
There is no discernible noise besides the crackling of the fireplace and the director's shallow breaths. The faint sound of creaking slowly becomes audible and increases in volume. Director Monroe becomes more distressed, and the string in front of the fireplace begins to swing. Monroe's breathing quickens significantly before he draws a deep breath and rapidly turns around. Director Monroe screams. The camera adjusts to reveal over 100 identical human cadavers with the appearance of Monroe, hanging from a multitude of white threads. All are dressed in different attire, ranging from farming garments to D-class jumpsuits, as well as approximately 20 in Mobile Task Force tactical gear. All appear to slightly swing from the strings in unison.
You know, earlier in my video, I was going the critique like who's watching who or what's watching what. So, yeah, I guess you guys got your answer. Given that having someone from Era 10, a veteran of Era 10, and side director scream in fear is quite remarkable, really.
In the center of the room, at ground level, the corpse of a young teenage girl is suspended by the strings. Her body is perfectly preserved, though does not show any signs of life. She is dressed in 18th century clothing. Unlike the cadavers hanging above her, she does not swing, and is entirely motionless. Director Monroe. I remember. Oh, please. Please, no. Director Monroe drops the camera and sobs uncontrollably. There is no reaction, but the cadavers do not cease moving. How much longer will you do this? There is no response. The cadavers quickly rise out of frame, and a single string lowers itself in front of Director Monroe. The corpse of the girl does not move, but the length of the room slowly diminishes until it is roughly
Okay. Later on in the video, I think it's a pretty long video already. At this point in time, the wiki article does provide an explanation on what's been going on. So basically, every time someone Jason Monroe is inevitably killed off by this girl. That's why she's safe. Because she is anomalous, she is perfectly preserved. She was killed in the 18th century. And at that point in time, Jason Monroe was her father. Since then, he has gone through a few iterations. All have died through this abnormality. So he can't escape no matter what he does. So he goes home, she follows him home, and the endless hallways kill everyone in 4 or 6 hours. He does the right thing, and he's killed by her, and she's satisfied, and they wait for the next situation. That's it.
Equivalent in length and width. SCP-5545-1 is visible behind the girl. I get it. You want me to make a choice. There is no response. If I leave here, if I leave the conceptual site, you'll follow me. You'll follow me outside, but I'll be free. Your hallways will spread all over the world and thousands will be brought here in my place to die. There is no response. But if I die here, I'll be brought back again and again with a different life each time, killed over and over, forever. But it will be only me to atone for what I did. There is no response. I'm sorry. There is no response. Silence elapses for 3 minutes. During this time, Director Monroe's breaths become steadier, and he ceases crying. The Foundation knew. They needed me to come here. They needed me to keep you contained, and they needed me to make the right choice. To keep you here, and to keep me from leaving through the hall. There is no response. That's why this happened, and why it'll happen again. Why everything needed to be set up this way. Why they had my notes from before. They knew exactly how the play would conclude because they already read the script. There is no response. Fuck it. Slowly, Monroe enters into the frame and approaches the string. He carefully picks up the end of the thread in his palm, and it begins to coil around his hand. The lights in the SCP-5545-1 instance turn off, followed by each candelabra in succession. As the thread snakes through his clothing and around his skin, Monroe looks directly at the girl's corpse. How could I ever forget you, Emily? The ropes tighten, and Monroe spasms uncontrollably, his body collapsing to the floor. The fireplace extinguishes, leaving only darkness. End log. The camera was recovered and logged according to standard protocol. You have one new message. To Gabriel Reed. From 05-9. Subject, SCP-5545. Dr. Reed, I would like to address your concerns, one at a time. First, everything in the mock file is technically correct. Site-344-1 is used as an information processing base when not containing SCP-5545, and 18 people are the minimum requirement for maintaining a site, on average. SCP-5545-2 is also contained via association lock, but not to the concept of being contained. Rather, it's associated to SCP-5545-4's death. The phrase SCP-5545-2 is contained in Site-344-2 is specifically for -4, and is not actually relevant to the anomaly's standard containment. As long as -1 and -2 are contained, so is -3. And since -4 is necessary to contain -2, it is contained as well. Second, no, you may not take an amnestic regimen. You have an assigned therapist, and your memories from prior cycles are necessary in case of future deviations. Third, Our next -4 instance was found among a D-class transfer, convicted for theft and assault. Considering how long the process takes for D-class instances, your services will likely not be needed for at least 6 months. You will receive your extra pay over this duration. Fourth, I do not have the answers to your questions. We are still unable to determine the nature of SCP-5545-4's actions against SCP-5545-2 300 years ago, and won't be able to for the foreseeable future. We do not know why SCP-5545-1 or hallways specifically, the methods SCP-5545-2 uses to propagate its goal, or why SCP-5545-3 will result from SCP-5545-4's refusal. There are simply answers we cannot know. It is not our job to rescue a murderer from the consequences of his actions. Our refusal to deliver him to Conceptual Site 344-2 in 2005 resulted in SCP-5545-3 manifesting in order to force him to enter. We do not plan to risk thousands of deaths for nothing, and it costs us nothing to contain -2 by simply complying with its demand. It's not our job to research, and it's not our job to interfere. It is our job to secure, to contain, and to protect. Nothing more and nothing less. With regards, the Desk of 05-9.
Okay, we reached the end of the video. The 39 minutes 41 seconds long video was the bare minimum to adequately cover what actually happened and to explain what has been happening. I don't think a short video will do it justice, but I do find it very fascinating because of its location, the things it does, and I was interested to find out a bit more. And you know what? I've compared this video to a few others that I've seen covering the same SCP. They were either shorter or in other animation styles. And I was like, why? A lot of times I find myself asking why? Why this, why that? And a watcher or reader shouldn't have to do that. And this does not try too hard. The original author on the wiki page did this anonymity very well. So thank you very much. I would, for those who are just starting out, testing waters, try something safe. You click Keter. Okay, try finding out about MTF squads, about the classes of objects, about some doctors, because some are recurrent, some are not. Some have already heard of the Hard to Destroy Reptile, the Little Art, SCP-62-173, the Young Girl with 053. How about the Teen Succubus? Because I really would like, okay, he did 3122 very well too. Donald Maxwell did this very well as well. So I propose to check it out. Check out his channel, check out his videos, subscribe if you feel if you deem it appropriate. Please subscribe if you have further comments, opinions, and that's it for tonight. My voice is failing me. So good night, good morning I should say. It's like almost 3 a.m. here. So good morning. And yeah, that's the end. Goodbye.